recovers, he has addressed the nation, and he said he has tested positive for COVID. He signed the anti-gay law, Mr. Speaker, in Uganda. And therefore, we need to lead. We need to lead in Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And therefore encourage remote working, Mr. Speaker. The reason President Museveni, Mr. Speaker, was signed that into law is to protect the family unit. We must protect the family unit because it's a basic. Mr. Speaker, when you are in your house, you can imagine your spouse, you are expecting to be prepared with chicken soup, Mr. Speaker. You know, I neighbor people who love chicken, especially free range, not the broiler. I know there are people who eat other things in this town, like they want broiler or kienyeji. But when you are somewhere, Mr. Speaker, and your stew is being prepared by your spouse, you see the employees sending messages of email, SMSs of work. You know, even it distracts you with what the Lord ordained us to do. Because some employers even send at midnight, Mr. Speaker, when we should be proceeding with other serious matters as ordained by the Holy Book of Procreation. So, Mr. Speaker, number 3 is that this bill does not give right. I've said this bill gives right to engage at an opportune time. You need to agree. What I'm just transferring colleagues and members and friends and leaders and even our visitors is to create a structured engagement. You know now if you work virtually, no one will pay you for overtime. Now I'm bringing a law that will ensure if you work virtually beyond working hours as stipulated by the Employment Act, you are supposed to be compensated. So I'm just enriching and ensuring that Article 41 on labor rights under the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, is sure. Mr. Speaker, you see the President under the Finance Bill of 2023, the reason we are even pushing the Housing Levy Fund, Mr. Speaker, and I saw some people making fun that I could not answer the question on housing deficit in the country, Mr. Speaker, and I've seen in TikTok and many other social media, is that we are aiming, Mr. Speaker, to ensure we protect the family. How beautiful. In 6.5 million Kenyans who live in slums, including the city of Nairobi. And it is good my brother, as a senator of Nairobi, is here, who is a staunch Catholic, that how beautiful and how nice when you walk to your house, Mr. Speaker, under affordable housing program, you walk, you have instant shower, you have a nice house, Mr. Speaker. It is very important. That is why this finance bill, Mr. Speaker, will ensure the family basic unit is protected. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, we are working, and I want to say this. Mr. Speaker, there are many young people who might want to say that in some instances, Mr. Speaker, this right to disconnect, I know the journalists, but we are exempting, Mr. Speaker, for the benefit of the country and my colleagues, is we are exempting with the people who work in emergency services. The people who work on call, there is an arrangement that they normally do, Mr. Speaker. And if you are a doctor, you are a fireman, you work in emergency department, Mr. Speaker, the right to disconnect will be exempted from you, Mr. Speaker, because you are supposed to ensure that you agree with the employer. Mr. Speaker, I want to allay with the fears of Federation of Kenya Employers and other sector players, and even the employers, be it the government or anybody. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, last session, we had push and pull on the floor of the House about mental health bill, Mr. Speaker. And we had an issue where we're having a breakdown. I'm just, in the next 3, 4, 5 minutes, I'm concluding. Mental, I don't know why the leader, the deputy minority leader is excited today, but just for the record, because my bill has been misunderstood. Last year, and Senator Wambua here, Senator Stewart Madzai, who is our leader, Senator Ledama Olekina, we were with the former Senator, Sylvia Kasanga, if my memory serves me right. And she was pushing the mental health bill. What is happening, Mr. Speaker? There are targets, performance, Mr. Speaker, by banks, by these other organizations. You find our employees have burnout and they're having mental breakdown and depression because of the performance targets. You imagine you have left office at 6 or 5, sorry. Then your bosses call you up to midnight. What is the targets? What were the sales that were being done, Mr. Speaker? We are protecting the burnout. We are protecting the health and mental wellness of the employees, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I want to call upon my colleagues, and I want to ask the FKE and other employers. I don't think it makes sense, Mr. Speaker, to have, Mr. Speaker, an employee who is mentally depressed, who has burnout. The productivity will go low, Mr. Speaker. Even International Labour Organization under the European chapter has agreed with me on the right to disconnect, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, this is an international issue. It's not a local issue. I want to bring to the attention of the House, Mr. Speaker, where we are saying right to disconnect is a very important right under the evolving. And my brother, Senator Stewart Manzaya, who is our revered and respected senior leader and minority leader, is a former judge of Labour Court. And he knows, Mr. Speaker, that some of these disputes is because of mental depression, Mr. Speaker. You have seen police killing each other. I don't want the Kenyan police. I'm saying some elements in police killing because of mental breakdown, the stress, the burnout. And Senator Amida Kibwana had brought even a motion, Mr. Speaker, that we are still discussing on the floor of the House. Because of mental breakdown, burnout, because we are deranged, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the 50th point that I wanted to make is these international organizations. France, other countries, Mr. Speaker, have done right to disconnect. Even in Portugal, Mr. Speaker. Let us respect, and I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, the environment is changing from the traditional office, where you go to your desk and work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Mr. Speaker. We now need to shift our focus to remote working environment. And I know that the correct person, and it will assist even people living with disabilities to be able to work at the convenience, because most of the government offices, Mr. Speaker, do not have friendly access or PWDs in the Republic. And therefore, this right, I know where